So I made a video a couple years ago when I got this force negation in the mail that I bought from eBay, and I was able to verify it was a high quality fake using this jeweler's lube. And I got a lot of flack saying, oh, I compared it against a card that wasn't the same set, same printing year. I didn't do the right tests. So I actually got a hold of a real force negation so I can do a proper test and show that this card is fake against a real one. So let's do that. Let's compare them. So first, with the naked eye, looking around the card, let's see if we see any difference. Force negation, the text looks pretty good. The mana symbols look pretty good. There's something that is definitely different. That is the set symbol. So the set symbol on the fake one, which is on the left, looks a lot more gold, where the one on the right looks a little bit more yellow. So definitely a difference in the set symbols. If we keep looking around the card, holo stamp looks pretty good. The text looks actually pretty good at this distance. You can maybe tell, but the border is a little bit different color. The fake one is a little bit more purple. The real one is more cyan. So if we look around the card, looks actually pretty good at this distance. So we're going to zoom in a little bit, but at least from the naked eye, they look pretty similar except for the set symbol and the coloring. The feel feels pretty similar. The fake one feels a tiny bit more plasticky, and the real one feels a little bit more plush. But there's not much of a difference there. The sheen or the glossiness on the card looks pretty similar. If I switch these, the way light reflects off of it looks pretty similar. Now if I look at the back, the coloring of the back looks not exactly the same. The fake one on the right looks a little bit more saturated. The real one on the left looks a little bit more dull. But there is variations in the back, so they look close enough where I couldn't really tell if it was fake. The glossiness is about the same as well. Let's see how light reflects off of it. So the other thing I noticed is the TM symbol is quite different. So on the fake one, look how bold that TM symbol is compared to the real one on the left. Quite a big difference. I'm going to zoom in more so you can see a bigger difference, but at least from looking at it with the naked eye, there's a few differences, but overall it looks pretty real. I noticed the bendability is a little bit different. Not a huge difference, but the way the real one bends is a little bit easier to bend, where the fake one is a little bit more stiff, but not too big of a difference. I've tried Chinese fakes in the past that are really stiff and really hard to bend. This is not like that one. This is pretty close to a real card. Just a slight difference in my eyes. So let me set up the camera and zoom in a little bit more, and we'll compare more. Now we're at 5x zoom in on my smartphone, and we'll look a little bit closer. So if you compare the text, force and negation, it looks pretty real. The one on the bottom is the real one. You'll notice that the bordering around, which looks more purple than the real one, looks more cyan. So if you look at that all the way around the card, it has a pretty big coloring difference between the real one on the right and the fake one on the left. The other thing you can maybe notice is the top of the border, the black, where the black meets the blue. On the fake one is a little bit more jagged than the real one on the bottom. So the real one is very straight, black line, transitions from black to blue very, very quickly, where the top one is a little bit more jagged transition from black to blue, and that's true on the top and bottom of the card. Mana symbols look pretty good at this distance. I paused the video here because I noticed while editing this video that the mana symbols, at least the one mana symbol, is quite different between the two. The one on the bottom is a lot bolder and the one on the top is a lot narrower. So there is a big difference, but I didn't notice at the time, but now I'm mentioning it because I've noticed it while editing. All right, back to the video. The bordering, of course, is the main difference on this. You can tell that the fake one is a little bit more blurry, a little bit more purple. If we go down the edge of the card, set symbol is a big difference here. Fake one on the right, real one on the left. Big difference in the coloring. If we go down to the bottom, the holo stamp still looks pretty good between the two. Can't really tell fake versus real on that one. If we look at the text actually looks pretty good, pretty close, but one thing I noticed is that little paintbrush next to Paul. If you compare the two, it's actually different. So the real one, the left side of the black inside the paintbrush is a little bit lower, where the fake one does not go that low on the in the middle. The black inside the paintbrush does not go down as much as the real one. So whoever made the fake card probably didn't copy this exactly perfectly. So that is a difference. Let's see, so if I go to the back, let's compare that TM symbol. So the fake one on the left is a lot more bold, and the real one is a lot less bold. Pretty big difference on that. The coloring on this border, this purple coloring, more purple on the real card, more cyan on the fake card. You can kind of start to see the rosette pattern difference at this distance, but not a huge, you can't really tell that much. When I zoom in more with a digital microscope, you'll be able to tell more about the rosette pattern. But if I compare the around the card on the back, it looks pretty decent, at least at this distance. Green dot, you can't really tell at this distance anything going on funny. You'll be able to tell more when I zoom in more. But overall, it looks pretty similar, but there are some indications of fakeness. Now I'll zoom in a lot more with the digital microscope and keep checking some differences. So before I compare these cards under a digital microscope, I have to explain a little bit about how cards are actually printed. So they're printed on what's called an offset printing press, which is basically 4 different printers, each having their own color. So for Magic cards, there's black, cyan, yellow, and magenta. Each one prints a series of dots. And the reason it's called offset printing press is because each of the printing offset each other. And the reason they do that is so that the dots don't interact with each other, they don't overlap each other as much, and you can kind of see all the dots when they're offsetted like that. So basically the printing prints a series of dots. Sometimes the dots are smaller, sometimes they're bigger, depending on what color is being printed. If it's going to be solid black, for example, then these dots would be huge, so that black basically would cover the whole card. So this is kind of an example of all the dots being the same size, but on a real Magic card, of course, the size will vary depending on what color is being printed. So one thing about this is you can find out if a card is printed with the same printing files if the offset is exactly the same. So if you take a known card and you measure the offset of each of the dots and you compare it to a fake card, if you compare it to a card and the offset is not exactly the same, then you know it's not a real card. So that's one of the tools I'll be using when comparing these in a digital microscope. So here's a comparison of the two cards, fake one on the left, real one on the right. And this is on the back of the card right next to the green dot. This is the green dot here and here. And so if you look at the printing pattern here, the black dots look completely different. The one on the left, the black dots are very small. The one on the right, the black dots are really big. And so not only that, the angle of the black dots is different. So someone could say maybe the printer was running out of ink on this card, but the printer had plenty of black ink on the right card. Okay, sure, but if you compare the angle at which the black dots are, this one is 30 degrees, and the angle at which these black dots are 60 degrees. So definitely the angle is different between these two cards, and that shows another reason that this card is fake. So here's comparing the large green dot on the backs of the cards. So the fake one is on the left, the real one is on the right. So first of all, the real one has these red spots, with 2 being darker and other 2 being lighter. This is a distinct pattern on real cards that are not seen on fake cards, so that's a clear indication of the fake one being fake because it doesn't have those. But not only that, if you compare the yellow dots within this green dot, you can see that the real one has a different angle of the yellow dots, as well as the density of the dots is much less than the fake one. So the fake one has lots of yellow dots within it, and the real one has a lot less. So comparing the angle and comparing the density, that's another clear indication that the one on the left is fake. So now I'm comparing the TM on the back of the card. So the fake one is on the left, the real one is on the right. So on the fake one, you can tell that the T is a lot more bold. So this is the T right here, and this is the M. And if you compare that to the right on the real card, they're a lot more skinny, not as bold. So just another comparison where the fake one looks quite different from the real one. So now I'm comparing the blue mana symbol on the front of the card from the fake one on the left and the real one on the right. And if you compare the blue dots, the offset is actually quite different from the real card on the right and the fake one on the left. So the offset on the fake card is about maybe a 5-degree angle, and the offset on the real one is maybe a 25 to 30-degree angle. So that's definitely a difference. So if I zoom in further, you can see that the blue dot angle here on the fake one and the angle on the real one. Not only that though, if you compare the edge of the mana symbol, the bottom edge, you can see that there's this ghosting effect at the top where there's these multicolors right above the black part, and that's actually existing on all the black text on the front of the card as well, that I'll show a little bit later. But this ghosting effect is not on a real card, so that's another clear indication. Even up here there's a little bit of ghosting. So yeah. So here's a comparison between the copyright year on both cards, the fake one on the left, the real one on the right. So if you compare the copyright year, you can see that the fake card has this ghosting effect where multicolors are behind the text on each of the characters. And this is true on all the text for the fake card, even in the text box. So you can see on the real card there is no ghosting effect, it's just pure text, no multicolor behind it. Even if you zoom way in, you can kind of see it even better. So this is true everywhere on the fake card and not true anywhere on the real card. So that's just another comparison showing that this card is fake. So now I'm comparing the set symbol from the front of the card. So the fake one's on the left, the real one's on the right. So I'm comparing this one because you can actually see the angle of several of the dots. So let's first look at the black dot. So if you look at the offset on the fake card on the black dot, you can see the angle is about like this. Where if you look at the real one, the angle is a lot more steep. It's a more of a steep angle. So that's the black dot. If you compare the cyan dot, you can see that the fake one has a more steep angle here, where the real one, it's a more longer angle. So that's the blue dot. Now if we look at the magenta dot on the real one, the angle is more steep on the real one, whereas on the fake one it's less steep. So comparing 3 of the different colors on the front of the card and the set symbol, you can see that the offset is different from the fake one on the left and the real one on the right, as well as a lot more yellow inside the fake one, which is why it looks more gold with the naked eye. So here's a comparison of the foil stamp on the fake card, which is on the left, and the real card, which is on the right, and you can see that they look quite a bit different. Even if I scroll around the fake card, one thing that is definitely noticeable is it doesn't have the security feature, which is on real cards. So this printed wizard's words on this symbol on the foil stamp, this is on every single Magic card I've ever seen. And this is a security feature that's very difficult to replicate because it's such small printing on the foil stamp. So on the fake card, that is not shown, so that shows that this is not a real card. But not only that, the foil stamp itself looks quite a bit different. This fake one is made up of a bunch of squares. If I zoom in and look around, and it just looks different than the real one, which has these little specks throughout it and more of a smooth texture. So there's another data point showing that this card is fake. So another test I wanted to do was the light test to see how light shines through the card itself. But first, I did notice that the corners look a bit different. So if I zoom in a bit, you can see that the real card on the bottom is more cut off on the corner, where the fake card, the corner is more round. So that's true on all 4 sizes. So just another difference I saw when comparing these 2 cards. So now I want to do the light test. I'm going to use a high power LED light and shine through and see what it looks like through the card. So if I check the real card first, you can see that you can see a blue tinge through the real card, and can see quite a bit of the back of the card through it with that blue tinge. And that blue tinge or purple tinge is the blue purple type core within the card. So you can see a lot of the card is shining through on the real one, and I'm going to compare the fake one at the same distance, and you'll see that much less light is going to shine through. So now if I take the fake one and I use the same distance, you can see that quite a bit of less light shines through the card. It's difficult to see the details on the back of the card. Plus there's no blue-purple tinge like on the real card, so I would say maybe about 50% of the light makes it through on the fake card versus the real card. So yeah, that's just another difference seen between the fake card and the real card. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I've done all the comparisons that I can think of, and so that should be enough evidence to show that this card is fake. So thanks